What's up, everybody? It is Kellen Nitro for Nitro Maniac TV's Wrestling Unlimited, and coming at you with night 2 of WrestleMania 37, Nitro's Take. And we had a triple threat main event, so it's a triple threat of contributors joining us on the line right now. First of all, I'd like to extend my welcome once again to Mr. TL, who joined me last night. Mr. TL, what's happening?
Hey, night 2, nowhere near as good.
And joining us as well is Moorhouse. How are you, sir?
Well, my eyes are stapled open after watching 8 hours of wrestling content this weekend.
Mm-hmm. Well, I watched more than 8 hours because quick off the top here, there will be some Nitro takes coming for some of the smaller independent shows that happened over Mania weekend as well. The notes are written. I just have to sit down and voice said notes. So I'll watch for those coming out over the next few days or so. So anyways, this was night number 2 of WrestleMania 37, broadcast live on the Peacock and on a WWE Network. The date was April 11, 2021 from Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay. First of all, Moorhouse, you didn't join us yesterday. This is your first time joining me this weekend. Just quickly, what was your thoughts going into tonight's card before tonight started?
I was prepared to eat the popcorn, watch the show. I didn't have any high expectations for either night.
Mm-hmm.
I thought night 1 knocked it out of the park. It was a very entertaining show, other than the rain delays and all the potential water damage that could have occurred but didn't. But yeah, I was definitely looking forward to night 2 because I thought night 1 brought it.
Yeah, that ship is not gently used anymore. It's hard used. I think that's going to the shipwreck yard after this weekend. The sails looked pretty torn asunder this afternoon when they were doing all the pre-stuff and everything. So, and, well, Mr. TL, like I said, you sat in with us, or with myself, I should say, yesterday, and we hammered through night 1. So let's say we get after night number 2.
Let's get after it, man. Actually, you know what? We were talking about how I was more excited for the Stone Cold podcast with Jericho for the end of tonight, but I was able to watch that ahead of time, so I got to put full focus into night 2. So I had the same, same amped up as I was for night 1 as I was for night 2. So I got the same treatment.
That's one of the cool things about having the network, that all the exclusives that they talk about rolling out, you can watch them ahead of time before they actually run. Like they're running, as we're recording this right now, they're running the Broken Skull sessions for Chris Jericho. So there we go. I haven't had a chance to watch that yet. That's coming up. I'll probably have that on in the background while I put this together. So there we go.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't do it? Don't do it. Wow.
No, it'll take your focus away.
Hot. Okay. Fair enough.
I'm just saying it would take your focus away.
Okay. I thought you were saying don't do it because it was in poor quality.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say it was the drizzling shits.
No. It's got a good half hour in it.
Okay. How long is the show?
90 minutes.
Well, all right. Let's roll right into this thing. So same intro as last night with different clips into the intro. We had a different singer of America the Beautiful. I didn't catch the name of who was singing this, but apparently she's an up-and-coming rising country star. So there you go. And we had this, again, the same intro with different clips. Moorhouse, I'm going to ask you, what did you think of the intro?
It felt like Groundhog Day. It was the same exact comedy intro that we got the night before. I think the clips are exactly the same too. So it was pretty much, hey, it's like Mortal Kombat 2, the movie. It's the same exact intro for that movie too.
So yeah, that's the one big pet peeve I have with this, guys, is next year, if you're going to do a 2-night Mania, let's get specific intros for both night 1 and night 2. I mean, New Japan does it for Wrestle Kingdom. It's not that hard. You just cut 2 different ideas. That's it. Or have the same idea and, make it custom to that night. That's it.
That was your pet peeve, not the fact that it was comedy horseshit?
We talked about this last night. I love the intro.
I still hate it. I hate it with a passion.
It's unnecessary comedy, and it's also what comedy Vince finds funny, so which means no one else in the world finds it that funny.
Yeah, and they did this thing last year for the Pandemic Mania for Mania 36, where they ran the same intro on both nights. I thought they would have at least learned their lesson with the intro and at least created a different one for night 2, but they didn't this year. So hopefully, third time's a charm if they decide to do it. Otherwise, it's, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So moving on through the order here. Hulk Hogan and Titus O'Neil welcome us this time in pirate outfits, which was a change from night 1. Hulk Hogan as a pirate.
Arr, matey, what you gonna do, matey, when this monster runs wild on you, matey?
I tell you what, though, I thought Titus, really did an awesome job of hosting at least Hogan. It's his shtick. That's what he does. So
they came out as pirates. What the shit was this?
That's a pirate fiend mania.
No, it's not. It's just because it's in Tampa Bay and their football team's the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
And you didn't have to physically dress them up as pirates. This ain't the Muppet Show.
The weirdest part is they actually found a red and yellow pirate jacket for Hogan. I was like, whoa, okay, he's color coordinated.
That's crazy. That's the weird part. Not Hulk Hogan hanging out with Titus O'Neil in pirate attire.
Okay, well, the whole situation is weird. Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Already they're putting the bar low for me, because instead of having like the 30-minute promos that they did in night 1, well, because of the rain delay, night 2 we bring out Pirate O'Neil and Pirate Hogan.
I should also say that just my unofficial timer had night 1 at 3 hours and 37 minutes, but that's because of the 30-minute rain delay. And tonight was 3 hours and 10 minutes. So
it felt like 3 days.
For the run of the show from start to finish. But again, that's my unofficial timer. The official numbers will probably roll out here in the next few hours or so. And we go right into our opening contest. And the fact that this was actually a wrestling match probably changed the presentation of what they wanted this to be. We had Randy Orton versus The Fiend with Alexa Bliss. Orton with some throwback gear-ish. Seeing him in white is a little strange. But I like the tights design that they had. It was kind of Evolution era Orton a little bit with the tribal designs on the back and RKO and you name it. And I just have down for my notes here, weird presentation for The Fiend. Which one of you guys want to jump on this first? Because I have a lot to say about this, but I'll let you guys go first.
Mr. TL can go.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. The house that Moore built. Now, I'm going to shit all over this thing because... Go for it. What the shit? Oh, my God. Well, yeah, first of all, you're right. Randy Orton with the white tights. Never seen that before, so that was interesting. Bray Wyatt apparently got himself back together because reasons. They just kind of used magic in a LED hallway, who popped back into his regular form. Alexa Bliss pops him out of a giant jack-in-the-box, which Cole referred to a box-like object.
Box-like structure.
A box-like structure. I'm like, it's a box, motherfucker. It's a box. What? Just call it a box. This frozen like water. It's ice. Like, seriously. Idiots. Anyways, I'm glad that this shit was on first so they can get it out the way, and I'm glad it was fast. And it made absolutely no sense, and the crowd booed after, and deservingly so. The end.
The thing that I liked off of this and kind of chuckled at and liked in a way that made me laugh was the hallway shtick with the Burnt Fiend kind of transitioning to what we know as the Fiend or transitioning back to, I guess, normal Fiend, not extra crispy Fiend. The hallway there kind of looks similar to the same hallway that The Weeknd used in his Super Bowl performance. If you remember that, with the mirrors and the guys kind of flipping in and out.
Except it was mirrors instead of an LED hallway.
Yeah, it was similar. It was not the same. That's what kind of made me chortle a little bit. And I was like, okay, so that's a little bit of a callback to that. But yeah, the presentation for this was not good. I'll quickly run through the notes here, and then Moorhouse will get your take. Is, weird. The red lights are back for the entirety of the Fiend's matches, which I absolutely hate.
Boo.
The Orton spinebuster on the Fiend on the outside, but then in Fiend's like incorporeal, and he'll get up like quicker after the move is done. Doesn't sell it at all or anything. And then I got down. This was the finish of the match. There was some weird and wacky stuff throughout this thing, but the finish of the match really kind of irked me a little bit. Was Sister Abigail, and then Alexa starts melting on top of the box. That's like, it's kind of like Papa Shango and the Ultimate Warrior callback from 1992, which is real strange.
Totally.
But then we got an RKO 1-2-3. Orton wins. Lol. And then post-match, Alexa and Fiend stare each other down, and the box is gone with the whole blackout thing, and the people are booing, and rightfully so. And this entire mess took Wikipedia says 5 minutes and 50 seconds. That felt longer than that. I think that time is a little bonk, but anyway, that
was 5 minutes and 40 seconds too long.
My take on that was Le Pew. That's what my take is with it. Sorry, guys. Just I didn't like it. So
this storyline's been going on for 4 years, I think now.
4 years.
Fiend died. Orton was a murderer. Then Orton tried to murder Alexa, so that's fine. He's somehow not in jail. The Fiend's resurrected by magic. Comes out of a Jack-in-the-Box, which is actually a Jack-in-the-Box shaped as a box that might be something else. Is immortal to anything until Alexa Bliss bleeds oil. Once she bleeds oil, he's kind of dazed and gets a 1 RKO or a pin, and then just disappears. That's the match.
I shit you not. That is actually the entire match. And we had to sit through that garbage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This match buries Bray Wyatt's character because now it looks like he's not in control and he's a lackey to someone else. On Twitter, there's ramblings that maybe Aleister Black's involved because Alexa was sitting like Aleister Black. That would be interesting, but yeah, they killed Bray Wyatt. They killed The Fiend. Move on. Where does Orton go from here? He should go to jail, but he'll probably just get a title shot or something.
Well, yeah, it is the dead period of the year coming up here in the next few months for WWE between now and SummerSlam. So I would think that he would get a title shot somewhere down the line, whether it's during like the June pay-per-view. We found out more about the May pay-per-view, more on that a little bit later on. But yeah, put him back into the world title picture. And yeah, you're going to have to, if you're going to want to use this Fiend character again, you're going to have to severely rewrite it because this presentation was horrible. But the guys at Wrestle Crap will like it. You mentioned on Twitter, Moorhouse, that it's probably a candidate for the Gooker this year. That's probably where it's going with that. And we were talking last night, TL, about worst matches of the year and that women's gauntlet. I think this one kind of supplants the women's gauntlet, in my opinion. This was just the train wreck presentation from start to finish.
The difference being, was a presentation train wreck. The women's gauntlet match was just bad wrestling. That's why that one is still above it for the shitty match of the year. Although the AEWs will still have 10 matches worse than that. I'm sorry.
Well, this is a WWE Wrestlemania recap, so we'll
damn
get
right.
into AEW later on. Let's go
Never.
on. Never. The next contest here was the women's tag match. So you took the winners from the Gauntlet Eliminator from last night. So Natalya and Tamina taking on Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. My thoughts quickly. They changed up Natty's music a little bit. So she's got kind of it's the same tune, but they changed up her music quite a bit. I noticed this. They remixed it or something. It's strange. Sounded different to me, at least. The finish of this thing after, what was the runtime that we had for it? The runtime for that one was 14:20. So it was definitely the longer of any matches that were presented in that first hour. And
it's the second longest match, it looks like, on the card.
It appears to be.
Yikes.
Yeah, 14-20, running in at that. The finish on this one, Tamina goes for the Superfly splash, but finds nothing. Natty rolls in, puts a sharpshooter on Nia, but Baszler is running in to break that up, and she throws on to Karafu to clutch on Baszler while Nia is wrapped up in the sharpshooter, and Baszler and Nia Jax retained. There were some real botchy moments in this thing, again, where Natty, I think, lost a couple of teeth off of a Baszler knee strike. We've seen that on Twitter. If you haven't seen it, it's out there on Twitter. I hope that she's okay and ready to go. There was a double headbutt spot between Tamina and Nia Jax that looked like it busted Tamina open, and that's why we didn't see her for the majority of the match. She had ducked down to the outside, and I think the trainers were working on her, so we'll see what happens off of that. Again, I think it's just Shayna just being wrapped up with a real, just I know why they put Nia with Shayna, but it hurts me to see Shayna with Nia, because Nia just is a walking injury in the ring to other people, like really just reckless. And Shayna, in my opinion, deserves more. I don't know if she needs like a brand change, or maybe going back down to NXT just so she can wipe the stench of Nia Jax off of her a little bit. But it's just, I was watching this and I was like, man, Shayna just deserves a lot more than what she's getting here with this. But she got a spot on the WrestleMania card, so good for her. But yeah, train wreck city for this one. Didn't like it at all.
Did they ever explain why Nia Jax and Tamina are no longer a tag team?
Not really. Just 1 week they stopped tagging, and then the next week it was Shayna and Nia tagging as because they were feuding, and can they coexist? The old WWE trope storyline. Kind of a similar way with Cesaro and Sheamus is the way that they wanted to launch the bar, I guess. But the difference was the way they launched the bar was actually entertaining. This was kind of more thrown together during the kind of the mid portion of the Thunderdome era last year. So,
okay. And is Tamina and Natalia baby faces or heels? Because it looks like they were heels the night before.
And I think they were, I think they tried to turn them babyface in the 24 hours via social media posts and that stuff to get the crowd to cheer behind them. But if anything, they came off as tweeners. So,
okay. Well, with those facts, this match was very, very boring. There was not a lot of conflict. There's no angle. There's no story here. Nothing happened and nothing changed. And it's something that we will forget about next year.
Yep. TL, your thoughts?
I don't really have much thoughts on this one. Tamina can't wrestle. Nia Jax can't wrestle. Shayna Baszler can wrestle, but I think the WWE thinks she's too ugly to do anything. And Natalia is just forever a veteran of the women's division, and they're always going to just keep her putting over people.
Which is why I think if they think that Shayna's limited in some way or whatever, put her back down in NXT and have her, work for the NXT title, put the NXT women's title back on her for a little bit and have her work with some of the faces down there and that stuff. And she can get,
I think the problem with Shayna though is her age. It's her age, because Shayna's almost hitting 40 right now. And in 40-year-old woman wrestler is the death note in WWE.
It seems like that. Yeah. I mean, they don't really keep the women on the roster past 40. I've noticed, which is a crime, because you look at some other organizations like the NWA is building a pretty entertaining program right now with women in their late 30s and early 40s. And the same with, some of the other companies and everything. AEW, not so much. They got veterans, but I think they're still in the 20 to 30 age group of a couple of them. And then the rest of them are really, really young in the business. So they are excluded. But,
and I'll stand by my statement that WWE mentality is if you're not good looking as a woman, they're not going to promote you to do anything. They'll promote the hell out of Carmella, even though she can't work, but they will not promote Shayna Baszler.
Right. So
you have to be under 35 and somewhat attractive.
Booyah.
I agree with that. I can't add any more. That's exactly my line of thinking as well. So yeah, Trainwreck City for that one. We're going to move on to what I thought was our first candidate of match of the night, everybody. This was Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn, I'll put accompanied in air quotes by Logan Paul, even though Logan Paul kind of made his own separate entrance and seemed like he was scouting both Owens and Zayn, or just watching on in sheer disbelief at a couple of times at the way these guys were going at each other. This match was 9 minutes and 20 seconds. It did not feel like 9 minutes and 20 seconds, but that is in the best possible way, in my opinion. I thought that match rocked. I thought that it was a great contest. I mean, there was we'll talk about the match from start to finish here quickly. We had Sammy come out first. He introduced Logan Paul. Mixed reaction for Logan, even though they tried to sweeten the sounds to more cheers, but in venue you could kind of tell it was overpowering the boos tonight when they did boo the crowd in venue. So I think their sound people were just like throwing their hands up and like, you know what, we got the live house today, let them translate on tape or whatever. We'll fix it in post if we have to. Owens with a near fall on Zayn with the pop-up power bomb, and then it's the typical, I don't want to say the typical Owens and Zayn fare, but a lot of the greatest hit spots, we'll put it that way, from their multiple meetings in the past, whether it's in Ring of Honor, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, or even NXT and WWE, a lot of it still happening. But I like the fact that the trading of the 2 counts in the middle of the match was really good. Yeah, and having JBL actually on commentary for this thing added quite a bit, because he called their first quote unquote main roster match that was outside of NXT, and he brought that back, and it was good. And I did the research on it. Yeah, this was basically a callback to the 2016 match at the Battleground pay-per-view when Owens first joined the main roster for the US Championship at the time. Super kick stunner, gets KO to win. The runtime again for that one is 9:20. Changing it up, we'll go with TL first for his thoughts on this one.
This match was too short. You said greatest hits, but they didn't even get to half of what they are capable of doing. Like Sami Zayn didn't even go through the rope spot on the outside.
Right. Yeah, I was expecting that, and he didn't do it. That's a good call.
I feel like this was all about Logan Paul, and they kept going to him for his reactions, and he was reacting well, I guess. But I mean, this match could have been more. It was kind of basically 3 straight disappointment matches for me watching this thing. I'm like, come on, guys, get it into gear. Get going. And then by the time they got going, it was done. And like you said, the crowd wasn't really feeling Logan Paul there, and they were very audible about that. And that's why KO hit the little reverse on him and gave him a stunner at the end. I'm like, good for you.
And where would you rank that stunner cell?
I don't know, because he kind of took it like a snapmare instead of going backwards. So
he kind of
I don't
flopped.
Yeah, he flopped forward instead of going backward. That's like a 2 out of 10.
Moorhouse, what did you think of this one?
It just didn't get going for me. It was, they tried. They didn't have a lot of time. They focused, like TL said, a lot on Logan Paul, who I could care less about. I think he's one of the worst people on social media. And for his stunner cell, no. I mean, Scott Hall will always have the king of the stunner cell, because every time he sells it, it's like he's falling out of his boots.
Exactly.
And the rock with the backwards roll up flip. I always love that one.
Exactly. That one and whatever. Yeah, and those are like, it'll be added definitely to whatever top 10 list that WWE YouTube or WWE Network will add for like the quote unquote greatest stunners in history or something like that. Maybe they might even do a top 10 greatest stunners in Mania history, and 5 of them are from Austin and matches, and then you have this here. But
no, that is blasphemous. I'm not letting you get away with that. If there's a top 50 stunners of all time, Kevin Owens shouldn't be anywhere near it. That is blasphemous, good sir.
I'm just saying, if it was limited to the top 10 stunners of WrestleMania, like, how they put out those little trending, what they term to be trending videos around like the big 4 pay-per-views of, hey, top 10 betrayal moments at SummerSlam, or of the like, right? I'm just saying, hey, they're probably going to put something together that's like top 10 Mania stunners for next year's Mania, because it's
they only have
awesome.
2 people, and that's blasphemous.
Well, Hogan's done a stunner, and I think Rock's done a stunner.
Hogan did a stunner at WrestleMania?
Maybe not Hogan, but Rock for sure.
Yeah, he did.
Yep.
But he does the one-handed stunner.
Yeah, he doesn't go all in on it. But anyways, you know what? Let's keep moving.
Keep moving along. For sure. Let's talk about the post-match, because the post-match with that one is, like we said, that was the whole impetus of celebrity involvement, and compared to, I guess, the nuclear level celebrity involvement that we saw last night with Bad Bunny, there's no comparison between the two. Bad Bunny, of course, knocking it out of the park, and Logan Paul kind of, grounding out to first, if you want to use baseball analogies, I think.
He got his paycheck.
Sure, he showed up for that paycheck. He got that money.
My sentiment exactly. Wow. Well said.
Yep. So there we go. Yeah, and thankfully that's we'll talk more about Bad Bunny, because there was a really cool video for his ad, or for his tour, that showed up during WrestleMania as well, that I have written down here, but that's coming up in the rundown. So backstage, Matt Riddle meets RVD at last. Thoughts, concerns, gripes? Nothing really.
As I posted on Twitter, I haven't watched the product a lot lately, and I don't know when Matt Riddle turned into Jeff Spicoli from Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Probably about a month and a half ago. It was definitely before Fastlane, because probably around the same time he got the United States Championship. So
yeah, he's playing the clueless stoner right now.
Yeah.
I really wanted to give you props for that reference, although I never saw the show, so I don't know the reference, but I feel like that was something smart.
Oh, dude, you got to watch Fast Times at Ridgemont High if you get a chance. It's a movie. It's from the early 80s. Who was all in it? It was like a really star-studded.
No. We're not going down that
Sean Penn
rabbit
plays
hole.
a stoner.
Yeah, Sean Penn.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's awesome.
I'm telling you right now, I'm never going to watch that movie. So this was a stupid segment where actually Riddle's talking to the Great Khali about getting scooters in India, like that doesn't exist. And then RVD has to translate for the Great Khali because Rajinder Singh went somewhere for no reason, and then gave them rolling papers, and then Riddle scooted away. And I'm like, this was high school sketch quality garbage.
We had a lot of people pump their side projects, their side hustles tonight, because you had RVD with the rolling papers, you had Bischoff with the 83 Weeks podcast. This is something that like WWE,
Riddle's
scooters,
India scooters,
the India scooters too. Yeah, this is something that like WWE like would shy away from in the past, but yes, it can't.
What they should shy away from are sketches like this.
Yeah, it was it meant nothing into the run of the show at all, but it was a thing. It happened. Whatever. We move on.
Moving on.
U.S. title, Sheamus versus Matt Riddle. Runtime for that one is 10 minutes and 50 seconds. And we have a title change. And I think it was our first title change of the night. Yes, it was, where Sheamus defeats Matt Riddle in 10 minutes and 50 seconds. And probably in one of the, like, Sheamus is going to get points on the internet for the way this match ended. Riddle goes for a mid-rope senton, but gets caught with the bro kick, 1, 2, 3 for the pinfall. But Sheamus catches Riddle clean, busts his mouth all up and everything with that bro kick. And, people on the internet that hate Riddle, they loved it. So,
okay, well, I'm one of those people that hate Riddle because he's a friggin' goof. But you know what? This match started so slowly that I lost just attention to it halfway through. Mm-hmm. And then it only picked up at the end there, where he goes for basically like a lion salt and gets booted in his face for his troubles. But this one, you said 10 minutes. That felt like a year of my life wasted.
10 minutes and 50 seconds, almost 11 minutes, actually.
It is 11 minutes I want back, damn it. But, yeah, forgettable match, whatever.
Moorhouse?
To me, it was a match of the WrestleMania.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Go for it.
I was engaged with this match. I thought these two had actually really good chemistry. Riddle was able to use Sheamus's size to maneuver all around him. I thought Sheamus played well as his I guess surfboard for the whole match. And then I'd like to see these two go at it again. Definitely with a lot more time. I thought that was the only problem is it didn't get the time. And that seems to be a problem with the whole Mania event tonight.
Well, here's why I'll disagree with that. I feel like, okay, styles make matches, obviously. Sheamus is slow and plodding. On the other side of that, so is Riddle. But Riddle isn't as big. So you just have like a slow plodding match the entire time. And it doesn't quite mesh together. I feel like you need someone a little bit faster to go with Sheamus to either pick up his game or to have those spots of speed to counteract with him slowing down the match. But these two together, I felt like it was just two slow guys.
Riddle did a C4 on Sheamus off the top rope, but I've never seen Sheamus take a C4 off the top rope.
That's a flashy power move for sure. That was a good moment in that one. The thing with it though is the slow prodding matches are kind of what built WrestleMania in the 80s up until the 90s. It's not very, I agree, it's not really reflective on what we like to see as a quote unquote, 5-star match now. But you watch all the matches from 1 through 6, 1 through 7 of WrestleMania, and those are just two or four, or some cases 6 big prodding heavyweights just going at it. And that's kind of the classic.
But that's exactly what
build.
But that's the key that you just said there. Slow plodding heavyweights. Those are big men, and it makes sense that they'd be slow and plodding and strong at the same time. Riddle is looks like a middleweight compared to Sheamus as a heavyweight. So you'd expect a smaller guy to be a lot faster, be a lot more dynamic, be a lot more elusive, and he's not. He's just as slow and plodding as Sheamus was.
I see what you're talking about. Yeah, he was moving too. I guess you'd say in that match he was moving too heavy for his build, which he should have been doing, not necessarily more high risk stuff, but more kind of mid heavyweight to cruiserweight style action in there.
Or just at the end of the day, you need to be a lot more aggressive looking in the ring, like just to bring that aggression out. I don't see that out of Riddle because he's too laid back and he's high all the time, it seems. But like a slow plodding guy like Sheamus needs somebody aggressive. It may not have to be so much as a cruiserweight, but just someone to match aggression.
See, all right, yeah. Again, I thought this rolling through. This was towards the end of the second hour of WrestleMania, and I thought that the second hour really flowed a lot better than hour one. I felt that the second hour was more akin to what we seen the night before. I really liked how both matches worked in the second hour. I probably am the opposite of you, Moorhouse, in that with the timing for Sheamus and Riddle, I would have liked to have seen him kind of condense it and be just maybe a tad bit faster. I think that match going 6 or 7 minutes probably would have still accomplished it. The finish, though, very interesting. I could probably tell you it's not the way that Riddle wanted it to end up because his mouth got all busted up off of a fairly stiff brogue kick, but that was a very innovative finish. It's something that was probably an eye popper. This is a match, though, again, where the WWE production kind of screwed things up a little bit because the camera started doing the weird switches around and that stuff right for the finish, and the zooms in and that stuff. And I almost just wish that they would just, it's like that video that showed up on Reddit a week ago or so, where they compared the camera styles of, I think, WWE and AEW, and where there was within a minute of
New Japan.
and New Japan, where there was like a minute of footage from each, and they compared the camera cuts, and there was less camera cuts.
Hey, speaking of production, don't forget about the birds.
The birds. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll touch on that quickly. The birds were seagulls today, and they're a thing now. So whenever Riddle does the flip, the birds come flying out. I don't get that whatsoever.
I hope they're building a Coco Beware gimmick for him, because I think that would help Matt Riddle get over. He can come in, do the bird,
Is the bird going to be high too?
He's a high flyer. Well,
Hey.
it would work if he was a high flyer. The problem was he stayed on the mat for the majority of this thing.
Yeah, I think he's a ground and pound guy. I think when he was MMA too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and that was another thing too. Is for an MMA guy though in this match, we saw a few kind of stretch submission holds that he was trying and that stuff, but not necessarily the full arsenal. It's WrestleMania. Empty the tank out, man.
You know what? That's actually a good point that you just said. This didn't feel like a WrestleMania match to me. This felt like this could have been a SmackDown.
Yeah. It had a very television feel to it. I felt that out of the matches in the second hour, I would have Owens and Zayn ranked, miles above this one as well. So I've liked the Owens and Zayn match a little bit more than Riddle and Sheamus. But there we go.
Next match.
Actually, I'm going to hit on that vid because that's right when it ran in the show. Was I have written down a cool vid with Triple H and Bad Bunny. So what they did was basically film a commercial spot for Bad Bunny's upcoming tour to promote, some dates and say, hey, tickets on sale at this date and whatever. But it was kind of a send-off video or a well-wish video from Triple H where he hands off a golden briefcase to Bad Bunny, and Bad Bunny gets on top of his semi from last night and opens up the briefcase, and it's a microphone that's been Triple H-ified a little bit with the skull and the metal and everything, kind of getting Triple H's endorsement. So I thought that's pretty cool. If we see a couple more videos like this throughout the year to kind of keep Bad Bunny's quote-unquote WWE presence alive. And it's weird for me to say this, that the guy has a WWE presence now, but after last night, I'm completely in on this for sure. Is a couple times per year during a couple of the major pay-per-views, send in a video vignette of you on tour or something like that, just to keep the thought of Bad Bunny alive and the character alive that he established last night, and bring him back next year for Mania for Bunny and whoever the other hot celebrity or main roster star you're going to have or whatever.
Nothing says hip hop like a Triple H microphone decked out for a heavy metal band.
Especially Triple H though, standing in the video, not with a Bad Bunny shirt, but full Motorhead gear and leather jacket. And
pathetic.
I liked it. It was charming.
It was not charming. It's stupid.
I've never heard of Bad Bunny prior to his WWE involvement, and it's not my type of music. But I'm glad he got the blessing of Lemmy to go on tour.
Well, the spiritual successor to Lemmy. So there we go. In the heavy metal realm. So anyway, that's just my thoughts on that.
DMX is crying now in heaven. I hope you're happy.
Oh,
him and Lemmy, DMX and Lemmy are getting drunk as shit tonight.
X gonna give it to me anyway. Going on to the Nigerian drum match up next. This is for the WWE IC title. Big E versus Apollo Crews. I'm just gonna sit back and let TL tear this one a new one because my thoughts of this one are still what I said about it in the prediction video. We had no clear understanding of what this match was, and all it was essentially a themed hardcore match. And this basically was just a relaunch of Dabba-Kato, Baba Tunde, whatever you want to call him, as, I guess, Apollo Crews' security backup or whatever. So,
yeah, I hated this going into it because I thought Apollo Crews was playing into a stereotype that's already been broken in the UFC by two legitimate champions. And even though I had low expectations for this match, it somehow underperformed because it being a drum fight, all they did was just have drums on tables outside the arena with nobody playing them or anything. And there was a gong out there for some weird-ass reason. And that's always going to be funny when that hits the ground. And it was when they used it one time in this match. But it was stupid. There was very little wrestling going on. It was just a glorified hardcore match. Dabba-Kato came out dressed as, I think, an African soldier and cost Big E the match. And Apollo Crews is the champion. And this was horse shit from top to bottom. I want to boycott this match, as I said, and I had every right to now that I've seen it, and I am horrified. I hate this night. I friggin' hate it.
I found it hilarious that they looked into the costume for Dabba-Kato and found Colonel De Beer's jacket from Super Clash 3 and Tugboat's pants from SummerSlam 90 and said, that's what we're going with for his backup.
And then gave him Umaga's finish.
Yes. The whole, the golden spike choke slam thing that Umaga was using. I can't remember the exact name of it.
It's a thumb to the neck spike. Yep,
yeah,
that's all it is.
Yeah. The golden spike back in old school wrestling is what it was called. But anyways, Moorhouse, your thoughts on the Nigerian drum fight?
So Saba Simba did the best he could with what he has. They brought in Dabba-Kato or whatever his name is he's going by this week. He's the new Mr. Hughes, where he just can't get a good gimmick going. We'll see if this one lasts. I don't think it's going to last. I think it's maybe a month or two before he's taken off TV again. And then till Apollo Crews discovers, oh, wait, I can't do a Nigerian accent. Maybe I should do my California accent where I'm from.
That's gotta be just.
It reminded me of Star Trek, where Spock and Kirk fight with javelins, and they have the pit of music. Because they both ran and grabbed weapons right away and were trying to hit each other. But again, it was short. Nothing happened. I had no attachment to this match. I don't care. And again, when you look back at the history of WrestleManias, this will not be a clip that they showcased of the Immortals.
No, I think you're going to be pulling a lot from night 1 of this WrestleMania and not so much from night 2 in the greatest hits packages from here on out. But the one spot that did make me lol was the dueling kendo sticks where they just went a whacking on each other. That'll always make me laugh. And the runtime, what did they get for a runtime on this one? This was a runtime of 6 minutes and 50 seconds. It felt like 16 minutes and 50 seconds watching this. Hopefully that it's not the end of the feud because they've introduced a new character into this, and now it's going to be Big E chasing Apollo for the Intercontinental title. Couldn't a more traditional match type could have sufficed here for this feud and whatever? Probably, but I guess we'll get that at WrestleMania, Backlash, Revenge, NWO.
And just to go back a little bit,
okay.
Just to go back a little bit, my funniest part was that Wale did the entrance for Big E.
Yep.
And the announcer said, one of the biggest names in the game. I'm like, you ain't in hip hop. What the hell? You can't say that.
Yeah,
one of the biggest names in the game. Here's Wale. You say that on the radio. You don't say that to an audience of people. Like, that doesn't mean anything to them. And then Wale went out there and lip synced his own song, which I thought was hilarious.
That's not the first time that they had somebody come out and lip sync their own song tonight. That's another thing. But
although given the next live performance, kind of wish they would lip sync that one.
Well, at least the intro of it. Man, yeah, I was going to hit you up and ask you about Wale and your thoughts on that. Moorhouse, you got anything to add on that, or what was your thoughts of the first live musical performance of the night? Wale playing Big E to the ring.
I've never heard of him until tonight. I grew up I'm an 80s kid. I appreciate classic rock, heavy metal, grunge. So I don't know what's cool or what's hip with the kids. So my opinion on Wally or Wale or whatever doesn't really matter.
I think he was just there getting a payday because Wale Mania was not happening this year. That's typically a wrestling hip hop themed independent show that happens on Mania week in the Mania City. And
okay. Yeah. To be fair, because I'm apparently the only hip hop guy here.
Yes.
Wale is a major wrestling fan to the fact that he dropped a song using Razor Ramon's theme song as a backbeat.
Ooh.
Like, he's a huge fan of WWE. He did appear on a SmackDown a couple of times and actually did he was the mediator between a rap battle between the Usos and the New Day.
I remember that, yes.
But he is a pretty decent rapper and everything else, and he loves WWE. The thing is, WWE doesn't know what cool is anymore, and so they don't know exactly how to relate to the hip-hop community. And the funny thing is, hip hop community, they love WWE. They love Ric Flair. They make songs about wrestling. They all that bravado and that gangster shit is kind of wrestling. You know what I mean? And they love all that stuff. But WWE has no idea how to tap into it because they don't have black people in their upper management to explain to them how to roll it in properly. And that's how you end up with garbage like Apollo Crews or stuff like Raw Underground or whatever the hell else that they can't execute properly. But that's my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, just a quick thought just to close that off there. I don't picture Vince McMahon sitting around a stereo at home downloading DMX and Wale and all that, the hip hop top 40 and be like, yeah, that's good. I like that.
Don't ask Vince for his taste in music because he's the same guy who kept throwing Limp Bizkit on and Kid Rock on 10 years after they weren't relevant anymore.
But points to Limp Bizkit and Kid Rock for having the last 2 legible performances, I guess, at a WrestleMania that you could actually hear and the mix wasn't off or anything like that. Because
hey, come on, Snoop Dogg did his thing for Wifey when he walked into the ring.
Okay, I'll give you that one for
thank you.
What was it? 32 at Dallas, 2016. Yep. Okay, I'll give you that one. Sasha Banks. Yeah, you could hear the music quite clear in that one. They were actually, I think they were actually singing in that one and rapping. So
yeah, they had a girl come out and do the singing part, which Sasha Banks actually does on the real track, and Snoop Dogg did his thing.
I'm actually quite okay with the entrances for rock bands instead of interrupting the show for 30 minutes just to throw in a band. Because I know you went to a Flow Rider concert once.
I've been to 3 Flow Rider concerts, and all 3 times inadvertently. He was part of other events that were happening.
I was just going to say, as a hip-hop fan, why would you do that?
He follows me, I swear. That's all it is. He's just like, hey, Kellen Nitro is going to be at WrestleMania, so I'm going to perform there. Okay. Kellen Nitro is going to be at the Edmonton football team game. Hey, I'm booked for halftime. Okay.
Maybe he is following you. But you know what? Let's move on from this.
I'm being stalked by a rapper whose name is Flo Rida. It's kind of creepy.
This is why we're moving on.
Yes, absolutely. There is the 2021 WWE Hall of Fame break. Mayor Kane gets his pyro fire, and the cheers and the whatever from the crowd. the accolades. I'm thinking about the next match here with the participants by saying accolades, but there we go. Thoughts on the Hall of Fame segment, guys? Anything?
Not really. I watched the Hall of Fame ceremony earlier in the week, and they did their speeches there, and that's way more entertaining and important than just showing them on screen.
I thought I had nothing to say on this, but you know what? Seeing RVD up there getting an award for, Hall of Fame or whatever, it kind of crushed me a little bit. It's kind of like, wow, those years of wrestling are really dead and over, and I'm really this old now. It was kind of sad, but good that he got in the Hall of Fame.
What's really going to crush you is in a year or two when Rey Mysterio gets his Hall of Fame nod, and then that's like, oh man, yeah, those years are gone.
Yeah,
it's already been an emotional weekend. You don't have to throw that in there.
Just bringing it up. So the Raw Women's title was up next. This was Asuka, the champion, walking in to take on Rhea Ripley, the challenger. This was our second live entrance performance of the night with Ash Costello of the rock band New Year's Day performing live for Rhea Ripley's entrance. For a bad sounding musical entrance, I actually enjoyed it. The mix was horribly off, though. Having listened to New Year's Day in concert before, their mix is actually, for a live rock band, one of the better mixes out there. Then you can actually hear a lot of their stuff real legible in concert before and that stuff. I've seen them open for somebody here before in the past, but again, that's a difference of a venue of a conference center that's maybe about 8,000 people and WrestleMania going out to a giant stadium. So the mix was terrible. It wasn't the best. TL's trying to keep it together over there. So I just gotta grab the ball. Here's ball. TL, take the ball. What did you think? Go for it.
No, it just sounds like you sound like Bart telling Krusty, "Hey, the acoustics in here. That's why you can't hear anything. It's the acoustics." That shit was trash, bro. That entrance was trash.
Well, that goes to say that it falls under the whole. You'll never get a lot of best. Like we were talking about before. You never get in any case or whatever. You never get a live WrestleMania entrance that's any good. You get some decent ones, but I would even argue that the ones that we listed that were quote unquote great or good probably would pale in comparison to these acts in concert.
I don't know. I think. Whoops, sorry. Go ahead, Moorhouse.
No problem. I was just going to throw my 2 cents in. This is more closer to the music or type of music that I like, but again, like Kellen pointed out, the acoustics in the open air aren't very good. It actually reminded me of a band performing at Starlight Lounge, which has horrible acoustics. I've seen some metal shows there that sound exactly like that.
Inside reference for our YEG followers, the Starlight Lounge, Starlight Room, yes.
Krusty, the acoustics. I'm just telling you. That's why you can't hear the cheers, Krusty.
So there we go. And there'll be polls and that stuff asking what the best live performance was of the weekend and that stuff. It's just like avoid those polls, I guess, and move on with your life and don't spend the 10 seconds on clicking on an option. Don't rack your brain about it. Man, this match though was quite fun in my opinion. This was 13 minutes and 30 seconds, and we have a new Raw Women's Champion off the end of this. The really cool ending of this thing where you had the Rhea hit her finished Riptide, netting a free count as Asuka was going for her flurry attack, kind of leading up to another hip attack again, which almost got her a 2 count earlier in the match. So call back to that one. And Rhea Ripley gets her first Raw Women's title. And I guess this is a make good for, making Charlotte Flair look good last year and dropping the NXT title and so on and so forth. Like we had talked about TL in our prediction show. But again, Rhea Ripley goes to Raw and is immediately the Raw Women's Champion. A bit of new blood, in my opinion, in that Raw title scene, which it had been, Becky Lynch and then Charlotte and then Becky and then Sasha and then Bayley and, gets another person in there and Asuka.
For me, this match, I didn't find these two had a lot of chemistry together. It's quite a meshing of different styles where Asuka's more technique and technical sound, where Rhea's more of a brute house, powerhouse wrestler. I just wasn't really engaged in the match. I mean, I'm happy with the winner, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes out of that. I think Asuka's probably going to take some time off here, what she deserves. But we're going to get Rhea versus Charlotte, and it's coming around the corner.
Yeah, and again, to your point here, Moorhouse, we were talking about the older athletes as well. And I think Asuka is pushing the 40 mark, if not, over that mark right now. So, I think some time off would be good for her, bring her back in. And, there's rumblings. There's talk that Kairi Sane is interested in coming back to the company again, but working an opposite end or working an opposite brand as Nia Jax, so the two aren't thrown together in matches all the time like they were before, because that was kind of an oil and water combination last time that kind of let Kairi go back to Japan. So
you keep throwing that kitten in the Rottweiler cage.
Well, yeah. What do you expect to happen off of that? That would be the thing. So I don't know. TL, your thoughts on the title change?
For one, I very much agree with Moorhouse that these two didn't seem to have the right chemistry. Like I said before, styles make matches. The styles didn't quite work because Asuka's usually like a chop you down type of wrestler with your kicks and punches and elbows and stuff like that. She going, chop down the pretty bitch. That's what her whole gimmick is. And Rhea Ripley is a powerhouse type of wrestler. She uses her length and her size and her strength and everything to get the job done. I don't know what it was, but like Rhea Ripley was acting like a complete heel in this one. and I don't. It was kind of like heavy-handed, like, word, you gonna dress up like the devil and be the heel? It's like Luna Vachon looking type shit. I didn't like that, but the ending to me made absolutely no sense because Asuka point blank kicked her 3 times while she was downed, and then got reverse slammed for the pin. I'm like, the fuck just happened here? I don't know. That didn't make a lick of sense to me. But either way, I mean, Asuka is probably going on break, like you said. She's not quite 40 yet. So she still has maybe a year or two before WWE gives up on her.
Yeah.
Yeah, here comes Charlotte, who does match up a lot better against Rhea Ripley in the way that they look, in their size, in their techniques, in their styles. That will be a better match when it comes.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people are waiting for that rematch, especially off of the Mania match they had last year, which was actually one of the few bright points of last year's Mania. I think that when they wrestled, that one was up for match of the night honors and match of the weekend honors after they had that contest. It was very entertaining and very interesting. You know, that's a great point with Charlotte coming back, is that her absence kind of makes the heart grow fonder for her. Do we see her at Raw after Mania, maybe walking out and challenging Ripley coming on the next pay-per-view here in May? Or do we hold off on her and maybe she's like a SummerSlam opponent for Ripley while Ripley kind of fights, you know, the other members of the Raw women's roster or what have you, or establishes herself? So
your yearly Ruby Riott feud.
Oh, so you think because we're going into the dead period, we're getting the B squad and the C squad wrestlers?
It happens every year.
Yeah. So fair enough. It will be that time of year after this week for sure. They'll slowly start to do that, and the numbers dwindle anyway because it's the dead time. That's what it is. Well, you know, with one of you guys one day or something, I'll explore that topic a little bit more, why people and wrestling experts call it the dead time of year for WWE. But to put it bluntly, it's just because it's the down period after Mania going into the summer where people aren't at home anymore and they're doing things outside. Well, in a normal time, and the pandemic's throwing everything for a loop as we know it. But that's neither here nor there. Man, the brain is not working with the tongue tonight again, which is crazy. But we'll get right to the main event here, unless there's something else that we want to talk about.
Yes, there is.
Go.
Because there was 2 segments with Bayley. One was a nothing segment with Bischoff, Hogan, and Titus. The second one, she comes out on stage. Remember how night 1 I said, good job on WWE for not pandering to the Bella Twins? And then here they come to beat up Bayley. I'm like, oh, shit, here we go.
They heard you. They listened to the podcast for night 1.
Son of a bitch.
That does happen from time to time. We should, Moorhouse, we should tell TL that, we think that at times WWE listens to our podcast because what we talk about sometimes shows up like, you know, the week after or whatever. And it's like, wow, we thought we were the only people talking about it, but there you go.
Hey, we've already experienced that because I called Logan Paul coming in, remember?
There you go. Go back to the Fastlane video, everybody, and check that out. We called it. So,
but yeah, at least Bayley got 2 spots in here to get, you know, disgraced or whatever, and she got her moments. Good for her.
There we go. And yeah, the Bellas lay out Bayley.
So Vince approached Bayley and said, "We don't have any matches for you, but we do have a nice angle if you want to be the female Heath Slater. You'll just, you know, get beaten by a few legends. It'll be great for your career." Ask Heath how that went. I think it's a disrespect to Bayley. And the other thing I noticed is the Bellas are wearing the same clothes as they wore yesterday. So they obviously they stayed somewhere last night.
Yo, Bayley called one of them Elmo, and I popped hard for that one. That was great.
Yeah. No, Bayley brought it, man. Like, I mean, like, it was an unenviable position to put her in this weekend, but she brought it in that role. It was, like I said, it was kind of like the Karen role kind of amped up to 10 a little bit. So good on her for doing it. So We have the announcement of WrestleMania Backlash Sunday, May 16th as the next pay-per-view for WWE. No location for it, which tells me it's heading back to the Thunderdome. They have signed an extension with the Tampa Bay Rays. What we'll see is some episodes of Raw and SmackDown will be live, and then when the Rays need the stadium, that will be the weeks that they will pre-tape Raw and SmackDown going forward here. So at least through May, that's what they're doing.
Those poor production guys are going to have to build TV rings and then take them down and then build TV rings. I feel bad for them.
Yep. So that's why they get paid not big bucks, it's lousy bucks, but there we go. They get paid, I guess. Not good. But it's their workaround that they're rolling out right now. And we go right into the main event. It is the WWE Universal Championship. Daniel Bryan, Edge are the challengers. Roman Reigns is the champion. Reigns walks out with the entourage, as he always does with Jey Uso and Paul Heyman. The runtime for this thing was 21 minutes and 40 seconds. It's the longest match on the card, and rightfully so. It's the Universal Championship. It's your main event. And, this thing here was a triple threat of action. Almost like a fatal four-way at times, too, because Jey Uso got involved in it and then got quickly dispatched, and then we seen him at the end of it as well. So one of those real kind of complex style main events that at times seem overbooked, but it was just below that level for me of overbooking. I think it was just maybe, I don't want to say booked just right, but it flowed quick enough that if a chaotic thing happened in the match, the next chaotic thing didn't really hit until you were able to digest the last thing that happened, which was great. The ending with the concertos was great, I thought, and Reigns hitting the spear and hits the concerto to Edge and retains the title by pinning both Daniel Bryan and Edge after Edge hit Daniel Bryan with the concerto. I don't want to say it flipped all the switches for me, because that night one, the matches on night one, and especially that Sasha Bianca main event on night one, I thought was the slightly better of the two. But I think for a main event for night two, it did the job.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this one, it did the job for the main event. You had three, great wrestlers out there, and they did what they could. And I'm a little disappointed that Paul Heyman didn't grab the microphone from the guy and do the announcement for Roman Reigns like he used to do for Brock Lesnar.
Right.
I feel like for a live crowd, that would have been the greatest time to, bring that back.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. I wondered if they were cut on time then, if that's the case, because you would think that would be a shtick that they had figured out, that was written in, and maybe they just cut it.
But what took up all the time? I mean, everything seemed to be like 10 minutes and under.
Yeah, and it seemed like it rolled flawlessly as compared to last night when all hell was breaking loose. So, I mean, that's the whole thing. But I don't know.
The only thing I would say about this match is that it did feel like once they got into it and they got into the mix, it did feel like Daniel Bryan was the third wheel in this match. Mm-hmm. And it really was about Roman Reigns and Edge.
Yep. No, I think that that's a correct assumption for sure. Looking at that, well, that was the thing, is that Bryan was, basically platooned in there after Fastlane, and everybody had expected Reigns and Edge, and we got instead Reigns, Edge, and Bryan. So, of course, that raises the question marks. Can Edge go one-on-one in a major match with somebody after not just the return and coming back, but after the bicep injury and now coming back into the fold off of that? The thing is by keeping, there was no major title changes this Mania. Like Lashley held on to the WWE Championship and Reigns held on to the Universal Championship. So is there now a lack of contenders or credible contenders for both belts? Because you look at your champs right now and it's like everybody that could go up against them have gone up against them and lost.
Well, you could say that Brock Lesnar hopefully comes back and takes out one of them, right?
Maybe that's what they're banking on.
Ooh, we're getting a Brock Roman feud again. Nice. hasn't been done before.
I think that they'll probably lean towards more Brock Lashley because there's more creative there, because you're basically having the guy come back in to face the guy that was his replacement, all those years ago, essentially, because Lashley, when they brought him up through the system and everything, to be essentially the replacement to Brock in the powerhouse role and the juggernaut role. And it helped that Lashley actually had, the same, if not similar, wrestling background as Lesnar, as through the military and so on and so forth, and could actually, I would put Lashley a little bit of a better worker than Lesnar at that time. Lesnar, no, since has really improved his ring work as well, and that's the stint in New Japan and the return since coming back to WWE as well in 2013.
But also taking into account that those two kind of wanted to have a match in MMA when they were both fighters.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So it would kind of be fitting if they were to just get it on, like just do a wrestling match instead and just both make some money out of it.
Mm-hmm. Quickly, your guys' thoughts if I had missed anything off of that main event?
I think the only thing I regret is sending the audience home happy, because we didn't end up doing that. It's your first live attended event in over a year. I know you had the Bianca Belair thing last night, and that was fun, and everyone liked that. But it would have been nice for either Edge to spear him at the end and kind of get a pop back or something, or even have a wrestler come out and just stare down, Roman Reigns, build up a future feud. That would have been fine. I think the result's fine. I think the match was fine. I think you just had to build some heat at the end, just send the fans home happy.
TL?
I did like the spot where Bryan and Edge had a crossface on Roman Reigns, and they were even using a bar of a piece of a steel chair, put it in Roman's mouth and pulling on it. Like, that was some good stuff. That was pretty cool.
That was wild. I did enjoy that. That was one of my favorite bits of the match for sure. And just the decimation at the beginning of Jey Uso by Edge. Edge just laid him out. That was
by
awesome.
the way, yes. I thought they were stopping the thigh slapping when they were doing the kicks. I thought they put a halt to that. Uso did that like 9 times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I almost wonder if he's going to get a talking to about that. Or if they're even bothered with it now, if they're just like, yeah, you know what, it's a thing, it happens, I don't care, do it. So yeah, that's a great point though. It's so tough to tell now with WWE backstage stuff, because by the time that it comes out to us, generally it could be changed, it could be written off, it could be in the trash bin, or it could be instituted as a new deal, and this is how we're doing things as well. So would it surprise me that is still a thing? Sure. Would it surprise me that they're just like, you know what, screw it, let's continue like we were doing before? Sure as well. So remains to be seen. I know it's not a definitive answer, but that's the best I got for you for that. Poll time. It's time for the poll for our match of the night. Every pay-per-view, I throw out a poll on Twitter at Kella Nitro, and I want to get your opinions on your pick for match of the night for whatever pay-per-view we run. In this case, WrestleMania Night 2, and the winner, drumroll please, is the main event. So everybody thought that Roman, Bryan, and Edge, with 37.5% of the poll, is the main event match of the night. So
that's a pretty close poll. Not exactly a clear winner, is that?
Well, here's the full results. Roman, Bryan, and Edge, out of the 4 matches that we had picked as our match of the night contenders. So Roman, Bryan, and Edge, Riddle and Sheamus, Owens and Zayn, and Ripley and Asuka were the 4. Like I said, Roman, Bryan, and Edge won with the 37.5%. Two-way tie for second with Riddle and Sheamus and Owens and Zayn at 25%. And Ripley and Asuka came in last at 12.5%.
Yeah, okay, so it wasn't like a complete washout like the last poll.
No. Last night, that poll was the biggest margin of victory I've seen since starting those polls. That was an overwhelming, that was what, an 87% win for Bianca and Sasha?
And rightfully so.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So that's it. Final thoughts on night 2 of WrestleMania, and I guess I'll also say final thoughts on Mania 37 as a whole. I'll start, and I'll just give it, and I guess we'll give our ratings too out of 10 for night 2, and then we can give a giant cumulative rating for the event as a whole as well. I'll give night number 2 a 7 out of 10. Like I said, it felt that the matches tonight, we're looking at it, disputed what I said, whatever. Night 2 ended up being the weaker night, and it showed at times throughout this thing. There were a few bright spots for sure, but with the momentum of night 1 and just I guess the pizzazz of getting a live crowd back and wondering how they were going to react and everything, and just the romance of having some sort of attendance in stadium was a big factor to night 1's success. Night 2, you had while it flowed more like a traditional WrestleMania with the celeb performances and involvement and so on and so forth, you had it overshadowed by the celeb performance of the past 5 years or so, debatable with Pat McAfee's performance in NXT, but with Bad Bunny just coming out there and just being a ring phenom when it comes to celebrities in that tag match, it would cast such a shadow over top of night 2 in a positive way, but there was no way that like the celeb performances of like Logan Paul or Ash Costello or Wally could compete with it. Like it just was incompetible. So like I said, the main event good. Didn't really it was the WrestleMania main event, but it didn't have the feel of the main event from the night before, as well as it just to me didn't really it didn't feel at the end of it all like a Mania main event. It kind of felt more like a main event for a SummerSlam or a Survivor Series or something like that. So Moorhouse, your thoughts on night number 2, and give us a score out of 10 for the evening.
Night number 2, for the most part, it was meh. So I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. Is it a WrestleMania I'm going to throw in the tape again in the future and watch it? Probably not. And that seems to be the case with a lot of these more recent WrestleManias, is I just don't have the desire to ever watch them again after they air. So yeah, 4 out of 10 for the first night. I thought was phenomenal. First night was almost I give it an 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 even. It was, but overall, if you're going to put it as a full package, it's an 8-hour show nearly, and I can't watch 8 hours of wrestling without falling asleep. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10 overall.
It's almost becoming like every year WrestleMania is like the All Japan Women's Big Egg Universe show from '94, where that's 10 hours of wrestling and like 6 hours of it was a useless kickboxing tournament that nobody watched, and the other 4 hours was like wrestling. So I feel you there. TL, your thoughts on night number 2, just to close it off, and your rating out of 10.
Very similar to Moorhouse. I'm going to give night 2 a 4.5. I was disappointed throughout the entire thing. The main event was good enough. It's not something that I'm going to go back and watch, especially since Roman Reigns won. Like, who would I recommend that to? Like, hey, you got to watch that match because, Roman does things again and no one's happy. Overall, if you combine night 1 and 2, because I gave night 1 an 8.5, I guess using math, I'm guessing it comes down to a 6.5. But if I'm recommending it to somebody, I'm going to say go watch night 1 and forget about night 2 completely.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to pick up this when it comes out on Blu-ray just for night 1 alone, because I think that it's that worthy of archiving that night 1 in my collection for physical media side and whatever and so forth. It's just to combine the 2 scores and everything, and even take even a little bit off of that in the combination. I'm sitting about 6.75 out of 10 for the entire weekend, because strong opening, a few surprises, including, how well Bad Bunny worked on night 1, the lack of major titles changing hands with the WWE Championship and the Universal Championship. I thought that was surprising because usually Mania is your house cleaning show, and those are the two belts or the one belt that changes hands guaranteed because you want a new champion or a new lease on your champion or whatever.
Except you had the women's championship changeover, the IC title changeover, and the US title changeover.
So the mid card got to change.
Pretty much.
Yeah, mid card got to change, and you know and let's face it, the girls put on a better main event than the guys did on night 2. So the girls' main event on night 1 was phenomenal, and the guys' main event on night 2 was, you know, your typical WWE pay-per-view main event.
And looking back at it, the opening match of night 1, because you made me look back on this, was in the top 3 of best openers in WrestleMania history for me.
We talked about that yesterday. Yep. You know, you got to list that in your top 3 or top 5 best WrestleMania openers. Maybe that's a topic for another time, you know, where we label them off. We were trying to think about this last night, Moorhouse, in that, you know, we would have that opener in the same list as obviously Brett and Owen from WrestleMania 10, and then trying to think of other openers that would be in that kind of quote unquote God tier of WrestleMania openers. If you have any that kind of jump up into mind right now, go ahead and say them.
Daniel Bryan, Triple H.
I think I mentioned that one last night too from WrestleMania 30. I thought that was just a bias of me for being in venue for that one, but if it translated well on TV as well, then great. You know, that's
WrestleMania 30 is probably their best one. They've if it's the best they've done up until this point.
Okay, yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, that's awesome. That validates my opinion, which is great. So I want to thank both these guys because they had a chance to jump in with me at different times during the weeks leading up to this, and also you know, this weekend as well. TL, you were here for both nights. Moorhouse, you jumped in for tonight. Thank you guys again for joining me on this journey, which we call WrestleMania 37. This is the time where you can plug your socials, gentlemen. So Moorhouse, I know that you got more socials happening as the days and months roll out here and that stuff. You're still doing the Twitch stuff on that house in Canada and so on and so forth.
I'm currently paused on Twitch until I can find a graphics card. So if anyone knows where I can find a graphics card, let me know because they are ridiculously overpriced right now.
I was going to say good luck with that.
But you can see my opinions on Twitter at That House Canada.
Exactly. You were active tonight, which was really awesome too. And I urge anybody who follows me, follow Moorhouse, and vice versa. Anybody who follows Moorhouse can follow me. It's all good. And TL, you just keep doing the whole deal. What you got going on?
Man, I ain't got nothing going on, but you can catch me on Twitter at TMLOUTAN, as always, and talk your shit.
Exactly, especially when it comes to WWE. This guy will talk shop with you all day long if you have to. So, well, maybe not all day long, but you get the drift. So,
I got to go to work sometimes.
Yeah, we all got to get that money. So, anyways, I'm Kellen Nitro. Later days, happy wrestling watching. You can follow me on Twitter at Kellen Nitro, same on Instagram, and like, subscribe, share this video. And like I said, more coming from Mania Week. I have notes written down from some of the smaller shows. For example, Joey Janela's Spring Break, got a chance to sit down and watch that from front to back, got notes up the wazoo and opinions. Some of the hottest stars of independent wrestling showed up for that one. And of course, the big blow off at the end of it were Jon Moxley heading back to the death matches to take on Nick Gage. Is it a Dark Side of the Ring promotional thing that they're doing, or is it something completely different? I got thoughts on that. I'll share that with you guys in the upcoming days. All right, folks, take care. We'll see you next time.